We turn to you now to make a new start. More than just tears, we give you our hearts. Let the people cry and call, that we might stand and not fall.
Hello, everyone. So glad we could be together again today to talk about the great things of God and maybe come up with some ideas you haven't thought of or some reinforcement of ideas you've already thought of. What an exciting time we live in. You know, as I was saying, just in the last week and a half or whatever it's been, our whole world has changed, and it's changing every single day, and we are alive to see it happen. And we want to understand what's really going on, of course, and what the root of it is. This one's not too hard to figure out when you have Israel involved in the forefront in decision making, in weapons, and they're right in the forefront, just about like a world power. Really, they are a world power when they mix it with the United States, but they're pretty much a world power themselves to where they have come from. Last night, I sometimes I share, I sleep a couple hours and I get up for a while and pray or do whatever. And last night, because of everything going on, I skimmed through some television things and found a lot of history on the Holocaust and World War II and the decisions that were made and some Holocaust victims and just a lot of things like that and how it happened here and how it happened there, mainly in Poland I was watching. And I've been to the death camps before and visited them. And so, I've seen it just the after effect. And some of the videos were very moving because there are people that know what's going to happen to them. They know they're going to die. They know, I don't know how they got an interview or they probably wrote down stuff. And then now people have made it and read what they've said before they knew they were going to die. And, this one woman wrote something, and she knew she was going to die, and they had already gone where they take people and they divide them up, and they put the women over here and the children here and the husbands and dads and men over there. And she was trying to spot her aunt and her brother or somebody in the crowd, and she couldn't find them. And then she realized, well, they're already dead. And then so however she wrote this, and we got it printed, or they got it printed, is she knows she's next. She knows their time, and she begins to pray. And some of the men begin to sing way over here. They're not together, but they just given the video. Some of the men began to sing over here up unto the Lord, and she began to pray. And she was asking to be justified, and that God would. At first, she was talking about avenge us, like vengeance, avenge our enemy, with our enemies. But then it just turned like, make it right, justify us someday. And what's happening now is, as Israel was being threatened with annihilation, it's not just they had some people that don't like them. That's what happened in World War II. They got down to where America had to enter the war of World War II, in my opinion, or the Jews could have been completely annihilated because they were already trying to get off of the earth. And I don't call myself a Protestant hardly ever unless I'm teaching, but I'm a Protestant. It means I'm not a Catholic. Everybody was Catholic at one time in the Christianity after whatever century that was, and 13 and 14, and then in the 1500s then, and 500 years ago, Martin Luther came along and established what we call the Protestant Reformation, where he came out of Catholicism as a monk and began to say we're justified by grace, and he started what we now call the Protestant group, and you're a Protestant or you're a Catholic. And so they're two different worlds, of course. But the interesting thing that the person who started the movement called the Protestant Reformation, guess what? He was anti-Jew, anti-Semitic. Yes. And he's the one, that's the Protestant foundation. And he said, we should go in and burn, you can find it for yourself. We should go in and burn all the synagogues, get rid of them, drive all the Jews out. and get rid of them. And so kind of like, what they've had to live with. Now that's the root of the Protestant Reformation. So then you go through hundreds of years later, and Protestants, even if they go to seminary or they go to Bible college, come away with no understanding and no history of anything of the Jewish people, which we are rooted in. I mean, get it? The first churches were started on the face of the earth by Jewish people, and then non-Jews came in, and then as the years went by, there were more non-Jews than Jews, so we sort of just got rid of them and, called them the Christ killers, tried to kill them then, and just trouble after trouble after trouble. And so this is a tragic day for lives lost, obviously. It's tragedy when war, as they said, war is hell. That's how they quoted it. It's not good. But under these circumstances, when you have nations, which was Iran, that wanted to do the same thing that Hitler wanted to do, same thing, nothing new about it, just get rid of all of them off the face of the earth, then there comes a time when God steps in. And that's what I believe is happening. However, now a lot of people think the United States shouldn't be involved. Well, World War II, odd as it is, these odd mistakes that are made by people inspired by, evil, Japan was ruling Asia, ruling, took all the islands, had everything going for them. They had diplomats in Washington, D.C., just days before Pearl Harbor. And they assured our government that they want to work with us and, everything, assurances and all that. And then bang, the surprise attack, December 7th, 1941. Then Japan attacks the United States, Pearl Harbor, and declares war on us. We were just had their diplomats. They were winning. They had everything going for them. So why would they do such a thing as that? And then when they're defeated, they're basically defeated by the United States. What is that? And I'm talking about that to Kathy the other day, and I said there's scriptures and there's ideas that God eventually does some movement, and God puts a hook. We call it the Bible in early translations, put a hook in their jaw and pulled them a certain direction. There was no reason that I can think of that Japan, maybe some delusion, but to attack. But what did it do? It threw the United States into World War II, and Hitler declared war on the United States at the same time. Now, all the arguments, same arguments as we have today, we're not going to go into war, we're not going to send our troops, and so we sent supplies and things, but that was it. And then when Pearl Harbor, when Japan, out of nowhere, and for no good reason, in my opinion, attacked the United States, immediately threw us in the war. Now that the war is there, now that the United States is there in the war, now we have a big brother advocate that's going to fight and go in along with, actually, the Russian army freed Jewish people too, which is odd because they also, through history, persecuted them at times. But anyway, they went in, and with the United States' help, they were able to defeat Hitler and stop the Holocaust and stop the extermination of Jews, okay? So now we have just a repeat performance. Only this time it's flipped. This time Israel is the winners. Israel is clearing out the clutter. Israel's the one that's winning, and it's justification for not just World War II, but some of it. But they became a nation after World War II because a nation was born in a day and declared Israel is back again when there was no Israel. There was Palestine. There was no Israel, okay? And all of a sudden, right after World War II, Israel is a nation again, and it was birthed through the Holocaust, a terrible birth, a painful birth, as birth can be, but out of it came the nation of Israel, okay? And so now, a generation later or more than that, but it's about 70, 80 years later now, now it's flipped. Now they're the aggressor, and they're cleaning up and setting something straight where God is restoring the nation of Israel. where everybody else wanted to destroy the nation of Israel, God is restoring. And who is helping them? Again, the big brother America. And keep in mind that that's one of the reasons why God is tolerant of some of the things that we have going on in our country right now, some of the terrible things going on in our country right now. He's tolerant of it because it's pulling us, we are being pulled into a war, or at least almost a war. They're calling it a war. We haven't really, I think, declared war, but almost a war. And our president is doing it, which he can for 60 days. He can do it, and then we'll see what happens. But 60 days is a long time at the pace they're going now. They may clean this thing up before then. Anyway, so you're living to see just the flip side of Pharaoh going after him and gonna, gonna destroy him. He's gonna kill him when they're gonna cross, and they cross the Red Sea, and the sea opens, and then it closes back in, and it says the horse and the rider is thrown into the sea. And if I remember right, I think Moses actually sang that. He sang about the victory that they'd gotten after 400 years of slavery. Now, finally, they get a victory. Now we have lots of years of persecution of Jews. But whether, you understand all this or not, God is involved in justifying, giving them justification and establishment. So I believe that they're always going to have enemies, and people are always going to want to persecute them. But this is cleanup time. This is retribution. This is justification for all these years. And now they got their own weapons. They got power, nuclear power, rockets, strength, and I believe the United States needs to stay by Israel, and that we can continue to be blessed as a nation. If we bless Israel, we'll be blessed, and if we curse Israel, we'll be cursed. And so it's a very, very difficult time in our country, though. And here's the reason why. Now I want to move away from that history of that, and just sharing with you how I see it. Okay, you don't have to agree with it, but that's how I see it, and that's how I see this is right now, and it's not too hard to figure. This is about Israel. This is about establishing, restoring, protecting, and moving them forward in the next promises of God. One thing, I'm just going to skip around here for a second. You might find interesting, and I said this once in one of our services, and I'm getting the revelation more and more. But when Paul talks about Israel, then he says, and one day all Israel will be saved. Okay? Well, the evangelical saved means that, they're going to stand on this corner and we're going to say, do you know Jesus? And Jewish people are going to say, yes, pray for me. I know that I'm a sinner. I know that, and that's not going to happen, all right? But what is happening is when we say all Israel will be saved, the word saved does not mean die and go to heaven. It means to be kept from harm, to be protected, to be kept from harm, to be healed, to be rescued, to be saved in this life. And so way back when, in the days of Jesus, if you'd ask a Jewish person, which they wouldn't, it didn't happen, but today they do it, are you saved? Back then, the Jewish mind would look around and say, yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I think I'm okay. They would look in the now salvation. Salvation is now. And, Moses told them when they came to the Red Sea, stand firm and see the salvation that God will bring to you today. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing salvation in a different way, that we are blinded for several reasons. Martin Luther, anti-Semitism roots, anti-Jew roots go deep into the Protestant religion. And so they take it out, it's taken out of our studies and everything. And then on top of that is we have our own anti-Semitism. And so then we have our evangelical thing, like saved means to die. Jesus died, forgive me my sins. So if I die, when I die, I get to go to heaven and spend eternity in heaven, which is not correct either, since Jesus is coming back to the earth. Okay, so we're seeing this in our lifetime happening, and so we see that word saved. It can be translated a bigger salvation, in that Paul, some of the Jewish scholars are treating it this way now. All Israel will be safe. Is that salvation? Yeah, it is. Is it standing on the corner and having somebody read you a script about who Jesus is and you're supposed to say, yes, I know? That's not what it is. We'll be safe. And so the safety is coming before the revelation of what we would call as Christians salvation, the revelation of Jesus. And we're seeing, in my opinion, we're seeing the glory of God in action. And that's why, of course, the United States of America is helping. Now, talk about, we may not get to my subject today now, and this may be taken off or whatever. Maybe we'll never survive TikTok now. But remember I talked to you about the hook in the jaw with Japan attacking the United States for why when they were already winning. Okay, so now Iran is in big trouble, really big trouble between the United States and Israel working together. They're in big trouble already, right? And their nuclear facilities being destroyed and their leaders being killed. Okay, so now it's bad enough as it is, and all of a sudden, what does Iran do? They attack their neighbors, Saudi Arabia, and their other neighbors. They're minding their own business. They're not helping. They're not sending weapons. They're not doing anything about it. And all of a sudden, they're shooting rockets to what? How many? 3 or 4 different places that weren't even a threat to them. I know they talk about, well, there's Americans there and but it doesn't matter. It was a dumb move because now those nations are starting to join in to help in the cause. Now, there's a reason, because these Muslim nations are not all the same. Let me tell you something really unique that, like I said, we probably won't get to the subject today that I was going to do. But anyway, something unique about this. All right. So Iran, look this up in your Bible. Iran is the generations of Persia, the Persian Empire. And there's a lot in the Old Testament about the Persian Empire and prophecies about the Persian Empire and what will happen to the Persian Empire, and then you can read about it in just regular history. Okay? So Iran is from the Persians, okay? Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, those other nations, they're also, but they are Sunni. I think it's S-U-N-N-I. I think I spelled it right. The Sunni ones. And so they don't have the spiritual roots. Look up Persia in the Bible and see the demonic powers that they had against God, our God, and against Israel. Okay? So that's why so they shot rockets to other Muslims who are not Persian but are Sunni. And it's a completely different thing. We think it's the same, but it'd be like the Southern Baptists shooting off rockets to the Assemblies of God, Pentecostals or something. Like, we think, well, they're both Christian. Well, but they're not the same. They don't believe the same things. Some things they do believe the same, but some things they don't. Okay, so this is the root of it. Go and read about the Persian Empire. Learn a little bit about it, and you'll see that's why this is happening today. It's the same spirits, it's the same roots, and it's got to be dealt with. And there's promises how God will deal with them, the Persian Empire, and it didn't go away. It's still today, and possibly eliminated. And then as far as the evil of it, and let's hope that the good people of Iran, and there's a lot of good people of Iran, will be able to get their nation back and become an ally with the United States and an ally with Israel. Wouldn't that be wonderful to see in our day? It'd be miraculous. And so this is where we are. I can mention briefly what I was going to say is the disturbance is we have people that are opposing this, and they're for Iran, they're for criminals, they're for, they're for, drugs coming in and everything, and in our nation. So they're totally the opposite, and they have no vision of what's happening. And the root of that is anti-Semitism. It's anti-Jew in the root, because if it wasn't, they would be glad that the Jews who have been threatened with annihilation over and over and over again, and almost were, and now it's threatening them again in our lifetime. Now it's being taken care of. It's being taken care of. And that a normal person should be happy. But we live in such, this is what I was going to talk to you about, and I'll just do it real briefly. We live in such a culture of dishonor. And I just was going to share with you, I'll do it next time or another time, about the power of honor and understanding honor. But right now we live in such a dishonorable culture, and it's rooted in demonic dishonor. This is not normal. This is not normal. Open rebellion to authority. We've always had rebellion, maybe, but this is not normal. That there's the mocking and the hatred and the destruction, that because you do something so you go burn somebody's building down. You spit in the face of authority. You spit in the face of police or whatever, who's ever there, National Guard or whatever, and that goes too far. We can have disagreements, and disagreements are part of life. People are going to disagree, and but to turn to such hatred, such mockery, such dishonor, it is absolutely ugly, and it's not of God. It's inspired. It's inspired by other spirits. It's inspired by other spirits, and they're in our country. And you talk about hypocrisy, wow, or many, many words to describe it, and then I'll end today. I was watching the news, I guess, yesterday and the day before. And here we have, it was a wonderful moment when the Iranian people in the United States now that live here now, maybe they came because of the government there, they live here now. They're dancing in the streets. They're dancing in the streets because of what's going on there, and holding up the Iranian flag and joyous and clapping and dancing and hugging and kissing and giving, reports of how they feel about stuff. And then non-Iranian people that are not from Iran, they're out in our streets protesting, mocking against it, holding up signs and trying to get our government to stop all this, stop what's happening. And who are they to decide? This is to save these people. And because, what was it, 40,000 of them, maybe in a week or whatever it was, maybe less, were killed. I mean, what is right and wrong here? What is the right thing to do? And it's just the right thing to do, and set this straight. My thinking is it's going to be set straight. I'm not God, and people do what they want, and evil does what it wants to in this world. But my thinking is that this is going to keep going with Israel and Iran and the United States, and some other countries now are joining in. We're getting some support from France and Germany and the UK, which is good. But that it's going to go on. I think it's going to be taken care of, and a new government is going to come in. I know everybody's saying, well, who knows who we're going to get, what we're going to get. We might get something worse than we got, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm sure it'll be an inexperienced person, but I think if we can get someone loyal to the United States and this connection and work with them, I think our country would be more than happy to help them set up a government. And they need to have, the new government needs to have an army and that's loyal to itself, and give these people some peace in Iran. And the beautiful thing, it looks like Gaza is going to get some help too. So these are things that have been going on for how long? Centuries. And now we're seeing a change in the wind that I believe is more promise from the Bible than tribulation. But we're going to see the advancement of the kingdom of God, the advancement of the peace of God, the advancement of more protection for Israel, and that Israel is going to become at least safer, salvation to protect them from annihilation, not die and go to heaven, but to protect them as a nation. Then someone asked me when I said, well, I believe the glory of God is going to be restored in Israel. It's going to take some time, but this is part of it. Cleaning up this stuff is part of it. It's the glory of God shining to make things right. It's been ugly and it's been wrong, and now make it right. Not just for the Jews, but for the Iranian people too, and for the Palestinians too. It's all going. If this continues, it's all going to get better for them, in my opinion. But anyway, they asked me. They said, "Well, if I'm talking about the glory being restored in Israel and the Jews, like I'm talking today," and they go, "Yeah, but how are they going to meet Jesus? You got to." What are you talking about? I said, He's going to restore His glory. What's the Bible say? Who is the King of glory, the Lord, strong and mighty. You get the glory going, you get the restitution going, you get the safety going, then what's next? The glory of God spread about. And who is the King of glory? Jesus. He'll be there. He'll be on spot for them at the right time. But we're moving in increments now, and it's happening in my lifetime. It's happening in your lifetime. And we don't need, right now, we're going to make them saved, and none of us need to fly away, right? We just need to believe in faith and stay put and do what's right, and we'll see the glory of God on the face of the earth. And hopefully, national world revival of the Spirit of God on the face of the earth. Well, I didn't hardly get to what I was going to talk about. I don't know if this will get kicked off someplace because I'm talking about Israel. I don't know. But anyway, I hope that was inspiring to you. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even look who's around. I see you guys. I'm sorry, Beth and Vinny and Gabe. I got your message too, and Kenda and everybody, John and Mike, and so I see you guys. But I was just so wrapped up in that. I hope that's helpful to view what's really going on, and it's time to restore what the enemy stole. Not just from them, from you too, but this is an example of how God finally steps in and makes things right or righteous again. Till next time. Bye.